Good evening, Commonwealth, and thanks for watching the Channel 2 News. I'm Ashley McDowell. Let's take a look at tonight's top stories. More individuals have recovered and are released from quarantine. And court hearings continue for IPI. We have the details. Also tonight, restaurant owners favor the amended directives and hope for more. In sports, Frank the Crank seeks redemption at the Apex. Stay with us. These stories and more are next.
Thank you for being here with us.
For finding ways to keep things happening.
For making things feel a lot better.
Thank you.
Energize, realize, feels so good just to be alive. Time's a gift, my time is free. I can spend it on you, you can spend it on me. I can say you'll be blown away by the change you see me. And I feel alright, dance all night, put a little flavor in my life.
Thank you for staying strong with us.
And for us.
Thank you for always connecting.
For keeping us together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for reminding us
that despite this distance,
we are still better together.
Docomo Pacific, better together.
Life gets better. Get on better internet plans with the strongest internet from Docomo Pacific. With whole home Wi-Fi, it's the better way to work, play, and surf at home with the fastest download and upload speeds in the CNMI. Your better internet comes with a free Plume SuperPod for the strongest and safest Wi-Fi coverage throughout your home. Sign up today for as low as $50 a month and get a free smart tablet. Better value for your best connection. Because in everything we do, we are always better together.
Hafa Day, Tirwami, and good evening, Commonwealth. Today is Monday, June 1st, 2020. 3 more individuals in the CNMI have recovered from COVID-19 and have been released from quarantine. According to the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation, as of May 31st, the cumulative number of positive COVID-19 cases is at 22, with 2 deaths, 16 recovered, and 4 active cases being held in quarantine.
We continue to monitor them on our SARA alert system for updates or any signs or intelligence within the community for any presentation of COVID-19. So there's a good relationship between the community and CACC and the COVID-19 task force.
The islands of Tinian and Rota have no positive COVID-19 cases at this time. Advisor to the Rota Mayor's Office, Tom Mendiola, states they are happy to be isolated.
So far, we have went through, as of last week, about 400 some have been tested, and I'm glad to say that none is found positive. So thank you very much, Governor. And we have been rather complaining in the past. We continue to complain about being isolated, but this time it seems like, yeah, we are happy to be isolated on this case of the coronavirus.
5,609 specimens have been collected on Saipan, 349 on Tinian, and 376 on Rota through the Community Testing Initiative. IPI has quite a few court cases pending at the moment. KSPN speaks with IPI's contracted general counsel, Mike Dotz, about one coming up later this week. IPI is not currently looking to file bankruptcy. That's according to IPI's General Counsel, Mike Dotz.
I have not been instructed to file bankruptcy. Right now, there's no plan to file bankruptcy.
Mike Dotz was hired into the position as contracted general counsel for IPI on April 21st and states IPI will be back in court Thursday, June 4th for their motion to stay.
When a party obtains a judgment, they are allowed to what's called execute on the judgment within 30 days. They have to wait 30 days. That's to allow the other side to appeal. After 30 days, they're allowed to execute on the judgment. That means they can collect the money they're owed. So the 30 days has now run. They've asked for a writ of execution. If the judge grants that, it allows them to go around to all the banks on the island and take all the money that are in the accounts of IPI until they hit $6.8 million.
He says there is an appeal pending where IPI is willing to put up property to pay their obligations to Pacific Rim.
The party who's appealed will ask for a stay, to stay in place, stop the plaintiff from collecting until the appeal is over. An appeal can take 1 or 2 or more years. If you're in the mainland, what you do is you buy a bond to make sure that there's going to be money there for the plaintiff at the end of the appeal. If you lose your appeal and at that time you're bankrupt or broke, they can call on the bond. Out here, it's very hard to get an appeal bond. IPI is offering to put up some property to secure payment to Pacific Rim, so that if Pacific Rim wins the appeal and IPI is out of business at that time, there's still something for Pacific Rim to get.
Raising the question, will the court agree that Pacific Rim has to take property and not cash?
We have offered, there's some subsidiaries affiliated with IPI that have different properties around the island, and we've offered a package that's worth about $9 million based upon what these affiliates had paid for their leases to secure the what's now $6.8 million on the judgment.
But Dotz says that could change before the hearing Thursday, as there is no agreement yet between IPI and Pacific Rim.
One possibility is on Thursday there'll be these properties, another possibility is there'll be different properties, and another possibility is no properties, they get their writ of execution.
Stimulus checks are continuing to be sent out to those who qualify in the CNMI. Tracy Narita from CNMI Tax and Rev gives an update on the process.
We have released $45 million. Our approved amount, West Treasury, was $47.1 million. So we are getting there, completing our mission to release those funds into the community. And so I encourage people that have not filed yet to continue to file, especially those who anticipate a child tax credit as well, because that would be our next rollout.
Narita says if you have not received your stimulus check, to remain patient, as they are fixing any errors that are found in returns.
For those that are still pending, we are issuing payments as fast as we can, meaning those that have passed the process of our processing without any errors, those checks get released immediately. If they haven't received it yet, there may be a possibility that there is an error on the return that's holding their check back. And what we have done is taken those errors out, and we are contacting taxpayers for the information that we need to release that information in our system so that we can release the payment.
She states if you receive a stimulus check that does not belong to you, to return it to the post office. For any questions regarding stimulus checks, call one of the following numbers on your screen. As the CNMI transitions to community vulnerability level yellow, lots of restaurants are opening back up, extending the hours, and staying hopeful as everyone awaits the end of the pandemic. Sally Lemus has a story.
On May 25th, amendments were made to the CNMI 2020 emergency directives, which allowed customers to dine in at restaurants and allow businesses to extend store hours past 6 p.m. Social distancing protocols are still in place and movements are limited, but Seichi Kamagai says he is happy to be back in business.
For 3 days, I have no idea how many times I said, hey, long time no see, hey, long time no see, hey, long time no see. I was very happy because my regular customers, all of the regular customers came back for 3 days.
The Oleai Beach Bar and Grill was closed for 3 months, and Kamagai says because their menu is not fit for takeouts, he decided to wait until restrictions were lessened. He says the whole restaurant had to adjust to the new normal before opening back up.
Every day, every hour, we put the alcohol and wipe with alcohol and wash their hands. But this is new rule of the world now. We can follow.
Chef Francisco Sablon of Ina's Kitchen says moving to level yellow is beneficial to local businesses.
With a little bit of improvement with the COVID situation, I'm glad to see that we have some more businesses out there that are coming out. For example, the Hut is one of the new restaurants that's out. OMG Grill and also Oba Sushi will be back as well. I understand Naked Fish will be opening soon, and then you have all the other restaurants that are still up and running, like Garpan Restaurant, Salties, Pokeyaki. So it's, in a way, it's good. I mean, people are starting to open up.
Sablon shares some of the problems the restaurant experienced due to the pandemic.
The hardest part was probably the takeout only situation. We only have one phone line, so everyone's calling in at the same time, trying to place their order. So we noticed that there was a lot of missed calls, or people were thinking we were closed because we weren't answering the phone. It's only because we have the call waiting feature on our telephone, so anytime you call, it just keeps ringing and ringing.
But there were some positives as well.
It's nice to see some of our regulars come in, and luckily we've been getting a lot of new faces come in as well, with a little bit of extra time on their hands.
And a local restaurant opens up in the middle of a pandemic.
We have signed a contract, and basically around that time when we signed the contract, the shutdown of the island kind of came into effect, and so we had to get our heads together, and then with the help of the government agencies and telling us exactly what is going to be required for us to open up, we were able to get our permits as of 3 weeks ago, the day that we opened up, and we just kind of went from there, and we're glad that we did.
The Hut recently opened their doors, confiding in the unity of Sinamay residents.
Thanks to the people of the Sinamay, because they have really showed us their support, not only as a locally owned business and with our new menu, the Mexican burritos, but they have showed us that even in these trying times, that they're willing to come out and show their support for us and for the island, and to show that we are resilient.
The Bureau of Environmental Health has issued guidelines to restaurants that enforces employees to wear face coverings at all times, provide supplies that support healthy hand hygiene, and ensure physical guides for customers, such as markings that regulate the 6 feet distancing. Restaurant patrons are encouraged to look for posted certification of compliance with level yellow requirements, and should plan to make reservations for dine-in services. The CHCC-BEH has begun on-site visits to restaurants, and a listing of restaurants open for dine-in services will be updated daily at the CHCC's COVID-19 website. Reporting for KSPN, I'm Sally Limis.
Employees of the 2020 Sinamay Census Office receives equipment that will help in their field operations. The 2020 Sinamay Census Office received 1,000 washable masks from United States Census Bureau. A release states they await other personal protective equipment, such as bottles of sanitizers and additional washable masks. This equipment will be available to all Sinamay Census employees as they continue their vital work in the office and out in the field. Coming up, looking back at the life of a most remarkable achiever. That story and more after the break.
Mom, are you sure? What about the shutters? And do you have your medicine?
Don't worry about us, love, okay? You take good care of yourself. I'm in love. Yeah, sorry. The power went out, so I had to light up all the candles. Yeah. Yes, baby, yeah. I'm just glad our home phone's working and we're able to contact you.
Winigi Pechay Pharmacy in Gofadahi, Ihinim Lomo.
Our complete line of pharmaceuticals and lowest prices ensure you get the treatment that you deserve.
Our compassionate, friendly, multilingual staff will take the time to get to know you, explain your medications to you, and answer any questions that you may have.
Ngere eyor sumaye uhalweres ren, kuchu wayor safeye emal ebalisiu klalyam weres.
Inumin ang inyong gamot ayon sa nireseta ng inyong doktor at alinsunod sa bilin ng inyong pharmaceutical.
We accept most insurance, but in case you don't have coverage, we offer cost-effective generic drugs.
KHI Pharmacy, your lifelong partner in health. KHI, the pharmacy you can trust.
Mom, are you sure? What about the shutters? And do you have your medicine?
Don't worry about us, love, okay? You take good care of yourself. I'm in love. Yeah, sorry. The power went out, so I had to light up all the candles. Yeah. Yes, baby, yeah. I'm just glad our home phone's working and we're able to contact you.
Welcome back to this Monday edition of Channel 2 News. Over on Guam, Governor Lou Leon Guerrero continues to ease restrictions on quarantine. KUAM reports.
Here's your Guam News update. We remain under a public health emergency declaration until the 5th, with the governor taking another step in easing restrictions.
Starting Monday, June 1st, no test, no problem.
Current returning and intended residents of Guam, persons who are essential healthcare or other essential workers, or persons who have traveled to Guam because of an emergency or a personal hardship situation may be allowed to complete their 14-day requirement for quarantine at their home residence or at their rental lodging location.
About 2 weeks ago, the Governor's Physicians Advisory Group recommended that returning Guam residents be allowed to home quarantine instead of being forced to serve time at the government's quarantine facilities. The governor, during her press conference, said that returning residents or intended residents must be able to provide verification, such as a valid Guam ID, a mayor's verification, or they can sign a declaration of residency upon arrival. As for all other visitors, they will still be subject to mandatory quarantine unless they have a certified negative test result at least a week prior to entry. As for Guam residents who are currently waiting it out at a government quarantine facility, they will be allowed to leave on Monday. Also on June 1st, it's back to business for Gov Guam, but
we will be adhering to the 50% occupancy mandate.
Gov Guam employees will be allowed to work from home. Additionally, on Monday, the governor's Category 3 differential pay program expires. As for an update on federal stimulus checks, Rev and Tax sent 3,000 additional checks totaling $4.7 million to the Department of Administration, which the governor says should have either been mailed today or by Monday. In total, $118 million in EIP checks have been sent out. As for the governor's Programan Salapi Adzurin Itatao aid program funded by the Federal CARES Act, a total of 17,040 checks have been mailed out so far, totaling $12.8 million. As for unemployment assistance, the goal remains to get the online application form live over the weekend, but it would still take 21 days for that application to be vetted. DOL Director Dave Della Sola is hoping to be able to do that a lot quicker. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Serena Salas Matanani.
For more, follow us on Facebook. We're at KUM News.
A prominent businessman and community leader was laid to rest on Saturday. Bob Coldine reports.
Chairman of the United Micronesia Development Association, Chairman of the Commonwealth Ports Authority, Speaker of the House, Joe Lafoyfoy's accomplishments came from the trust and respect that he earned from others.
He's an iconic here, most especially here in the, as he always uncannily say, the Talabok village. He has done tremendously all over Micronesia, and most especially here, his home. His character cannot be replaced. This village lost an iconic, someone that they follow.
Businessman John Jones credits Joe with bringing him to the Marianas.
He was just a great friend. We started off, I met him in Palau, and he heard me talk for a few minutes about how bad business was, and he invited me up to Saipan that minute, right from the airport. And I actually changed my itinerary and flew to Saipan, and we've been friends ever since, and that was in the late 80s.
Jones saw firsthand the influence that Joe extended not only in the Marianas, but throughout Micronesia.
I think Joe was probably the greatest ambassador for all of Micronesia. He was known everywhere. The story, the way I heard it, is when Larry Hillblom, who was fighting with Continental, needed somebody to take him around to introduce him to all the islands and all the movers and the shakers in each island. There was only one guy who could do the job, and that was Joe Lafoy. So Joe had knew people in Palau and Yap and all the FSM and Marshall Islands. So he was incredible. I mean, he wound up. They made Joe an honorary citizen of Palau.
Congressman Lee Guerrero calls Joe one of a kind.
The one thing that he instilled in me is serve your community to the best of your ability. Don't venture outside your main thoroughway. Follow your path, because that would lead you to where you're expected to be. I'm going to miss him dearly.
Truly a wonderful man to be around, and I treasured my times with him. All right, coming up, KSPN2 Sports Report, we've got Crank going back to his roots to get ready for the biggest test of his career.
We are with you. At times when you need us most, you can count on us to be there. When you need someone to talk to. When you need to stay informed. When you need to brighten your day. When you need to stay connected. We are here keeping our promise that while the world is changing, we keep working so you can keep connecting. We are your Docomo Pacific family, and we are here to help.
Green sea turtles and hawksbill turtles call the Mariana Islands home. They are an important part of the marine ecosystem. They are under threat, and they are protected under CNMI law. Keep plastic out of the ocean. Keep vehicles off the beach. Use the Sea Turtle Stranding Hotline if you see poaching activities or if you see a turtle in trouble. Call 287-8537 and save a turtle.
Buenas sports fans. Buenas sports fans, 1 year ago today, remember, Frank the Crank Camacho knocked out Germany's Nick Hein But since then, Crank has lost his last 2 fights, and it's time to regroup. Consider this. Frank has 4 losses in the UFC, and all of them have come against top-ranked fighters, including 2 who are in a heavier weight division. But on June 21st, Sunday morning here, Frank the Crank Camacho will return to the UFC for Fight Night 173 in Las Vegas at the Apex. Nothing's normal these days due to the coronavirus, so it's back to the ways of the old days.
The gyms are closed and everything, so I don't mean to sound like a joke or whatever, but man, it's real lanceru training, like for outside yard, makes me appreciate the old hardworking Chamorro, or the old hardworking Filipino, so with that, with the wheelbarrow runs, with the beretta, I'm digging holes, the sacapico, I'm digging holes, and just doing a lot of yard work, especially during the lockdown. I had to learn how to get creative, and actually I built strength and conditioning programs with those movements.
Camacho, who lost 3 of his last 4 bouts, says this irregular training regimen takes him back to his roots.
You get ready for fights, the monotony of training, the monotony of fight camp. Show up in the morning, go train, just do the drills, back home, go back in the evening, go train. But now I don't have access to that, so I'm really working on. I'm on YouTube, watching high-level fights, taking notes on what they're doing really good, what they're doing bad, how I can implement that. I'm hitting up my coach, trying to see how his style will work with my style. So I feel like a white belt again, learning the way that I used to learn back in the day.
Crank uses the Rocky theme as his entrance music and inspiration.
This is Rocky 4 training right here when he's getting ready for Drago. We're not in Russia. We don't have Russian elements, but man, I'm out there. I'm picking up the rocks, but instead, but now with all the experience that I've had, I am building. Okay, so I'm gonna do these wheelbarrow runs for as fast as I can, 3 5-minute rounds. So emulate fight times.
UFC 249 was held a couple of weeks ago in Jacksonville, Florida, with no fans in the audience.
From what I've heard in Jacksonville, the event that they had there, man, the UFC did a really good job at trying to take the proper precautions. Every fighter had their own workout room. Every fighter, social distancing. They got tested 3 times up to the fight. I was like, I'm gonna stick that thing on my brain.
Well, that's better than getting punched in the nose, isn't it? Camacho will be fighting Matt Frivola at the Apex.
The Apex Center is basically the UFC's warehouse, I think.
Yes. And more than that, it's a TV production.
It's huge. It's a huge production. It's where the Contender Series and the Ultimate Fighter is usually filmed.
The lockdown forced UFC to conceive an alternative site. They're calling it Fight Island.
Dana White and the UFC, mostly Dana, I think only just a handful of people, but yeah, people don't even know where Fight Island's going to be at. It's like this whole big thing. I think it's so awesome. So Fight Island is an island that they're developing, for to invite international fighters from Brazil, from the UK, so that they can have these fights and have all these international fighters come in. That won't be ready, from what I hear, around July or probably the end of June.
While that venue is still in the works, the Apex is where Camacho will seek redemption. It's that time.
Time to crank up the sports again.
We're going to crank it up right here, Frank. Here's the windup and the pitch.
I don't believe what I just saw!
Let's roll at Gold's Gym Saipan with group exercise for every body. Total Resistant Exercise, or TRX, helps develop your core and improve strength. And Zumba toning is probably the funnest way to get fit. The Shake Cafe is a great place to stop by for a meal replacement or supplements. Today is the first day of the rest of your life.
high 90, the low 82. Our heat index 101, humidity 61%. Saturday, the airport received 0.28 of an inch of rain for the month of May. The total finished at 0.8. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, isolated, light showers, east winds 10 to 15, high 90, low 80. Seas 3 to 5 feet. Sunrise 3 a.m. Low tide 11:09 in the morning, followed by high tide at 5:10, and then sunset. Possible green flash. We had another one last night. 6:44. That is your news, sports, and weather on a beautiful June 1st in the year 2020, the year that was. Thank you for watching. We'll see you back here Wednesday night.